that as creativity. Let's talk about creativity. Of course, we can think about being creative at home, just like Tamara's speech. She was saying that we can be creative in terms of looking at Yelp opportunities and photos. Yes, taking photos, doing all those kinds of things. Those are examples. Other areas where creativity can come in, where we can be appreciative or maybe even contribute to one degree or another, would be things like movies or books or songs or listening to instrumental like orchestral music, or it could be art. Maybe there's art you like a lot. Maybe there's art you do not like a lot. These are all things that might come to your mind when you're responding to your opportunity. Also, you could think about museums. Maybe you've been to a world-class museum. Maybe one of the big museums in New York City or Los Angeles has some good ones. Or even internationally in Paris, the Louvre. And of course, there is another category too that is one of my favorites. And that is the book. I got it from a book called Grit. That's one of my favorite books. I keep mentioning it over. You've probably heard me mention it before. Grit has to do with skills development. It takes years to develop enough skill that you might be able to gain an ability or even an insight that comes after years of thinking about it and experiencing it. And that is the one that I really like a lot, because in my own case, I was into databases and other things of that nature, and it took me years of pretty intense dabbling in databases before I developed an insight that allowed me to then take that insight and do something special with it, which is what I'm doing now with my own website that's based on a database. So those are all examples of how creativity can come in. So, Trevor, can you please tell us what area of creativity appeals to you in particular, whether it be books or movies or music or art, or it could be performing arts, could be dancing. What are your thoughts on creativity?
Thank you, Ron. That's a really great question. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So that's a really great question. I actually very recently, I try my best to have creative pursuits because my career, I would say, is not terribly creative. So I do try to find creativity in my life whenever possible. And I mentioned, I believe last week, that I would play guitar or sometimes I would draw. I'm not very good at drawing, but it's something that would be really fun. But recently I've actually really been getting into writing, and I've always journaled and I've always written for my job. So like kind of like business documents and reports and stuff like that. And I've noticed that it's actually really fun to be able to write things that are not related to work. So I've been spending time writing about different topics, not really fiction, more nonfiction, kind of just like topics that I find interesting, writing them in my journal instead of just my normal everyday life. So that's been a really fun creative pursuit. And I think it relates really well to liking reading and books, because you're able to open up a book and kind of see how an author portrays a certain topic in his own way, but at the same time, when you're reading it, you're interpreting it in your own way as well. And I like that dichotomy that happens with that. So I really enjoyed writing. Hopefully I can do a speech or something on it so that I can share it with all you guys. But that's been a really fun pursuit as of recent. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor.